Galileo di Vincenzo Bonaiuti de Galilei, February 15, 1564 to January 8, 1642, was an Italian astronomer, physicist, and engineer, sometimes described as polymath from Pisa. Galileo has been called the father of observational astronomy, the father of modern physics, the father of the scientific method, and the father of modern science. Galileo studied speed and velocity, gravity and free fall, the principle of relativity, inertia, projectile motion, and also worked in applied science and technology, describing the properties of pendulums and hydrostatic balances. He invented the thermoscope and various military compasses and used the telescope for scientific observations of celestial objects. His contributions to observational astronomy include telescopic confirmation of the phases of Venus, observation of the four largest satellites of Jupiter, observation of Saturn's rings, and analysis of sunspots. Galileo's championing of heliocentrism, Earth revolving around the Sun, and Copernicanism, Earth rotating around the Sun, met with opposition from within the Catholic Church and from some astronomers. The matter was investigated by the Roman Inquisition in 1615, which concluded that heliocentrism was foolish, absurd, and heretical since it contradicted Holy Scripture. Galileo later defended his views. Dialogue concerning the two chief world system, 1632, which appeared to attack Pope Urban VIII, and thus alienated both the Pope and the Jesuits, who had both supported Galileo up until this point. He was tried by the Inquisition, found vehemently suspect of heresy, and forced to recant. He spent the rest of his life under house arrest. During this time, he wrote two new sciences, 1638, primarily concerning kinematics and the strength of materials, summarizing work he had done around 40 years earlier. Galileo was born in Pisa, then part of the Duchy of Florence, Italy, on February 15, 1564, the first of 6 children of Vincenzo Galilei, a lutenist, composer, and music theorist, and Giulia Ammannati, who had married in 1562. Galileo became an accomplished lutenist himself and would have learned early from his father a skepticism for established authority. 3 of Galileo's 5 siblings survived infancy. The youngest, Michelangelo, or Michelagnolo, also became a lutenist and composer who contributed to Galileo's financial burdens for the rest of his life. Michelangelo was unable to contribute his fair share of their father's promised dowries to their brothers-in-law, who would later attempt to seek legal remedies for payments due. Michelangelo would also occasionally have to borrow funds from Galileo to support his musical endeavors and excursions. These financial burdens may have contributed to Galileo's early desire to develop inventions that would bring him additional income. When Galileo Galilei was 8, his family moved to Florence, but he was left under the tutelage of Jacopo Borghini for 2 years. He was educated from 1575 to 1578 in the Vallombrosa Abbey, about 30 kilometers southeast of Florence. Galileo tended to refer to himself only by his given name. At the time, surnames were optional in Italy and his given name had the same origin as his sometimes family name, Galilei. Both his given and family name ultimately derived from an ancestor, Galileo Bonaiuti, an important physician, professor, and politician in Florence in the 5th century. Galileo Bonaiuti was buried in the same church, the Basilica of Santa Croce in Florence, where about 200 years later, Galileo Galilei was also buried. When he did refer to himself with more than one name, it was sometimes as Galileo Galilei Linceo, a reference to his being a member of the Accademia dei Lincei, an elite pro-science organization in Italy. It was common for mid-16th century Tuscan families to name the eldest son after the parents' surname. Hence, Galileo Galilei was not necessarily named after his ancestor Galileo Bonaiuti. The Italian male given name Galileo, and thence the surname Galilei, derives from the Latin Galileus meaning of Galilee, a biblically significant region in northern Israel. Because of that region, the adjective Galileos, Latin Galileus, Italian Galileo, which means Galilean, has been used in antiquity, particularly by Emperor Julian, to refer to Christ and his followers. The biblical roots of Galileo's name and surname were to become the subject of a famous pun. In 1614, during the Galileo affair, one of Galileo's opponents, the Dominican priest Tommaso Caccini, delivered against Galileo a controversial and influential sermon. In it he made a point of quoting Acts 1:11. "Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven?" in the Latin version found in the Vulgate. Despite being a genuinely pious Roman Catholic, Galileo fathered 3 children out of wedlock with Marina Gamba. They had 2 daughters, Virginia, born 1600, and Livia, born 1601, and a son, Vincenzo, born 1606. Due to their illegitimate birth, Galileo considered the girls unmarriageable, if not posing problems of prohibitively expensive support or dowries, which would have been similar to Galileo's previous extensive financial problems with 2 of his sisters. Their only worthy alternative was the religious life. Both girls were accepted by the convent of San Matteo in Asti and remained there for the rest of their lives. Virginia took the name Maria Celeste upon entering the convent. She died on April 2, 1634, and is buried with Galileo at the Basilica of Santa Croce, Florence. Livia took the name Sister Arcangela and was ill for most of her life. Vincenzo was later legitimized as the legal heir of Galileo and married Cecilia Boccaineri. Although Galileo seriously considered the priesthood as a young man, at his father's urging he instead enrolled in 1580, at the University of Pisa for a medical degree. In 1581, when he was studying medicine, he noticed a swinging chandelier, which air currents shifted about to swing in larger and smaller arcs. To him, it seemed, by comparison with his heartbeat, that the chandelier took the same amount of time to swing back and forth, no matter how far it was swinging. When he returned home, he set up 2 pendulums of equal length and swung one with a large sweep and the other with a small sweep and found that they kept time together. It was not until the work of Christian Huygens, almost 100 years later, that the tautochrone nature of a swinging pendulum was used to create an accurate timepiece. Up to this point, Galileo had deliberately been kept away from mathematics, since a physician earned a higher income than a mathematician. However, after accidentally attending a lecture on geometry, he talked his reluctant father into letting him study mathematics and natural philosophy, instead of medicine. He created a thermoscope, a forerunner of the thermometer, and, in 1586, published a small book on the design of a hydrostatic balance he had invented, which first brought him to the attention of the scholarly world. Galileo also studied disegno, a term encompassing fine art, and, in 1588, obtained the position of instructor in the Accademia delle Arti del Disegno in Florence, teaching perspective and chiaroscuro. Being inspired by the artistic tradition of the city and the works of the Renaissance artists, Galileo acquired an aesthetic mentality. While a young teacher at the Accademia, he began a lifelong friendship with the Florentine painter Sigilli. In 1589, he was appointed to the chair of mathematics in Pisa. In 1591, his father died, and he was entrusted with the care of his younger brother Michelagnolo. In 1592, he moved to the University of Padua where he taught geometry, mechanics, and astronomy until 1610. During this period, Galileo made significant discoveries in both pure fundamental science, for example, kinematics of motion and astronomy, as well as practical applied science, for example, strength of materials and pioneering the telescope. His multiple interests included the study of astrology, which at the time was a discipline tied to the studies of mathematics and astronomy. A big thank you to all of you for watching.